Hello everyone, and welcome to a rather under the weather week 2 of MetaCritic Anger Wank. This week we'll be looking at a much older game, but a game that has some relevance today due to a long-awaited remake, with an aggregate score of 92% from critics and a user score of 9.1 based on 1,195 reviews. Today we look back at when Square wasn't trying to get you to wank away your hard-earned money, even after spending £40 on the game. This week we take a look at Final Fantasy VII, a true classic of gaming and a game comparable to the Ocarina of Time solely on the scale and advancements graphically for the mid-90s. Take that into account as we traverse this one. A lot of the reviews tend to take the current graphical ability into account when reviewing this one. First this week we have Stip 33 Pike with this self-aggrandizing bollocks. With Final Fantasy VII, it's become clear to me that SCEA had no idea what makes me actually want to play an RPG. Sure, the graphics were interesting, but the gameplay was ridiculously slow. Also, the graphics often made the game more difficult because it isn't clear where you can travel and which areas are merely background. The linear storyline left little room for exploration, and the ridiculously long cinematics that accompany some of the combat maneuvers were just unbearable. I totally understand that many people will love this game, but the story was more complex than most games up to this point. However, the obsession with story and graphics over gameplay made this one a game where I wish I could have returned to the store. I feel he may have missed a point with this one. He seems to be of the opinion this game is aimed solely at him. That's probably not the case. I say probably because I may be wrong, obviously. For all I know, this guy is king of all gaming. I mean, with a game that can't be said phonetically, this seems legit, right? And as for linearity, it has 22 optional quests. 22! Complaining about a system gamers wish still existed today. But we don't dare insult Call of Duty for being focused on graphics over gameplay. Also, if you press select, it shows you where to go. Secondly, Scooterito. I don't normally complain about the graphics in the game, especially one this old, but the art in this game is such a low resolution that there were times where I couldn't tell what was going on. I shot at the graphics, but it's okay, because it acknowledges the age of the game. I didn't know where the floor ended and the walls began, so I spent an inordinate amount of time on every section. It was horrible. The characters were sort of interesting, but the turn-based combat is dull and there are lengthy walls of text explaining the overly complicated combat system. This game hasn't aged well at all, and I have a feeling that I wouldn't have liked it much had I played it when it first came out. I get the feeling this kid wasn't around in 1997 to realise that at this point in time the graphics this game boasted were immense. He seems to be expecting 1080p. Funnily enough, this review was actually posted about a month after the game was launched on the PlayStation 4, so maybe I'm a twat for buying this game again and being happy with it. Maybe I'm the flaccid one for being satisfied some gaming history was now so easily accessible, because I know collectors' prices. Let's take a look at Max W now with this insight. A horribly overrated game, no voice whatsoever, the whole game is mute, bad storyline and poor selection of characters, a bad RPG if it even is one. You do understand CDs only have limited space, and adding voices uses quite a lot. God forbid you have to read, lazy little cunt. Hannah L with another graphical bitch. This game is boring, graphics are horrible and they could have done better. I wouldn't be so angry if that was the best they could do, but I saw other PS1 games that have way better graphics than this. Cloud has horse-like hands and it is always so dark and, it's super boring. It's impossible to finish this game. The PS1 had a lifespan from 1994 to 2005. FIFA 2004 came out on this console. It was the last ever game. That's like me saying the CGI in the 80s movies look like shit because I've seen other movies that look better. One of them being your Conception video. Here's a PS1 game. Yeah, looks shit. I'll finish with Mark B, who seems to think that you're forced into playing video games. Final Fantasy VII is probably the worst Final Fantasy in the entire series. I don't understand the cult following that it has. The music is bad, the gameplay is just abysmal, the graphics look like crap, there is no character development and the storyline is just that word. Every time I play it I have to force myself just to finish the first disc. After that I felt like I want to drill a hole in my head. If I could I would go back in time and stop this game ever being made. Mark, have you tried not playing it? Well, I can think of a few other things for you to play with to fill your time. Let's not be so hasty to call it the worst Final Fantasy game. And I'd be careful in your suggestion that certain things' existence can be retconned, by the way. If your mother had actually listened to me, then you'd be the Final Fantasy VII of this scenario. Look, I don't want to seem like I'm not letting people have their opinions. I mean, I have them all you want, but I have them for legitimate contemporary reasons. Shitting on a game that's almost 20 years old for having low resolution and poor graphics isn't exactly fair game. I know some of those reviews came in the mid-2000s when the game was 10. And 10 years in gaming is a long time. We all come quite a long way in 10 years, and in 20 years, well, we can come even further. See you next week, and don't forget to check out my Let's Play videos that my friend Dan and me are doing. There's often more of us, so yeah, check them out as well. Didn't say fuck this week.